Hello again, and welcome to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Well, it's the middle of June, the sun is shining, and we look forward to good things. And one of the things that we look forward to is Psalm 99. We're going to be looking at that today. I call it absolute power. I asked legalclarity.org to define absolute power, and this is what it said. Absolute power is characterized by the absence of legal or constitutional limitations on the ruling authority. The entity possessing this power is considered sovereign, meaning its authority is supreme and unquestionable within its territory. This power is indivisible, not shared with other institutions, and not subject to any higher law. The sovereign entity has the ultimate right to make and enforce laws, govern its people, and control resources. The ruler's will is the law, and there is no mechanism for citizens or other bodies to challenge or restrain their actions. Wow, that's quite a mouthful. Absolute authority and control. The undisputed boss, the one at the end of the buck stops here trail, the living expression of a line drawn in the sand. If we're honest, that kind of power makes us uneasy. History has trained us to be suspicious of anyone who claims unchecked authority. From emperors to dictators, absolute power in human hands has usually led to corruption, oppression, and suffering. We instinctively believe that power must be balanced, limited, and accountable because we know the human heart. That's precisely why Psalm 99 is so stunning. It opens with a bold declaration. The first part of verse 1 says, "The Lord reigns." People don't reign. Circumstances don't reign. It's not the markets or the loudest voices that reign. It's the Lord who reigns. Whoever wrote this psalm doesn't apologize for God's authority, he celebrates it. Verse 1 says, "The Lord reigns, let the nations tremble. He sits enthroned between the cherubim. Let the earth shake." A few years ago, I was on a boat called the Maid of the Mist. It's a sightseeing boat. I was on the Niagara River at the base of the Niagara Falls. I was awestruck by the undiluted, savagely raw power thundering before me. Pondering that experience affected the way I think about Psalm 99. It's filled with powerful language. God's not elected. He's not advised. He's not limited by a constitution or constrained by a coalition. He doesn't share his throne. Psalm 99 is where our understanding of power is reshaped. God's absolute authority is inseparably tied to his holiness and justice. The psalmist tells us 3 times in verses 3, 5, and 9 that God is holy, and that changes everything. When absolute power rests in flawed human hands, it's terrifying. However, when it rests in perfectly holy hands, it's our greatest hope. Psalm 99 reminds us that God's sovereignty is not arbitrary. He isn't impulsive, moody, or unjust. Pay attention to verse 4. It says, "The king is mighty. He loves justice. You have established equity. In Jacob, you have done what is just and right." Did you notice? He loves justice. Our God doesn't merely perform justice as a duty, he delights in it. Equity is not a political slogan for him. It's the natural outflow of his character. His rule is not self-serving. It is righteous. when the world feels chaotic, when headlines scream instability or leadership disappoints, when systems fail, Psalm 99 calls us back to a stabilizing truth. There is another throne above every other throne, and the one who occupies it is holy and loves justice. God's absolute authority means nothing is outside his awareness or control. The conversation in the boardroom, the diagnosis in the doctor's office, the tension in your home, the private prayers you whisper at night, none of it escapes him. And because he is holy, his power is never abusive. The psalmist looks to Israel's history to illustrate this. He says Moses and Aaron were among his priests. Samuel was among those who called on his name. They called to the Lord, and he answered them. In verse 6, this sovereign king is not distant. Notice what it says in verses 7 and 8. He spoke to them from the pillar of cloud. They kept his statutes and the decrees he gave them. Lord our God, you answered them. You were to Israel a forgiving God, though you punished their misdeeds. So, what does all of this mean for us? Well, as I read Psalm 99, I come up with three things. Number one, Psalm 99 calls us to humility. The Lord reigns, let the nations tremble. We are not sovereign. Psalm 99 gently but firmly dethrones us. It reminds us that control is, at best, partial and temporary. There's freedom in admitting that. We were never created to carry the weight of ultimate authority. When we try, we become anxious, defensive, and exhausted. However, when we acknowledge that God reigns, we can rest in our rightful place as stewards, not sovereigns. The second thing I saw was that Psalm 99 calls us to trust. Since God has absolute authority and truly loves justice, we can entrust to him what we cannot fix. When wrong goes unaddressed, when we can't influence a decision, or when we don't get the outcome that we want, trust is active confidence in the character of the one who reigns. What do? In verse 9, we're invited to respond. This is what it says. Exalt the Lord our God and worship at his holy mountain, for the Lord our God is holy. You see, worship is the appropriate response to holy sovereignty. And then there's the third thing in Psalm 99 that affects us, influences us, calls us, instructs us, whatever words you want to use. That third thing is that Psalm 99 calls us to reflect his character. If the king loves justice, then those who belong to him should love justice too. If his rule is marked by righteousness and equity, then our everyday decisions, whether at work, home, or in our communities, should echo with that same integrity. We may not wield absolute power, but we do wield influence. The way we use it says something about the king that we serve. Verses 5 and 9 repeat something very important. It says this, exalt the Lord our God and worship. The repetition is intentional. In the hands of a holy, just, and forgiving and righteous God, absolute power is not a threat, it's a refuge. And that, my friend, is very good news. This is Dr. Vic Hollyfriend. In his grace, if you have any comments or questions, you can address them to me at vixfridayfocus@gmail.com. That's vixfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Have a tremendous week.